What's going on, everyone? So one of the biggest signings last offseason for the Lakers was Christian Wood. And it was his versatility and his proven skill set, right? 6'10", play the center position, play the power forward position, though little undersized for the center position. Still longer than most like small ball centers, right? Usually when a team goes smaller, center position is usually like a 6'8" guy. So it's like, oh, Christian Wood kind of would give you some length in that regard. But more so even at the power forward position. It was also just his versatility. Even slot him at the 3 on occasion at times, which we actually saw him do a brief stint last season, and he actually was very good in that regard. Remember him defending out on the perimeter, shutting down Kevin Durant at the 3? That was huge. But it was a guy that, basically was a 17-8 guy that could stretch the floor, score around the rim, could slot him alongside Anthony Davis and still maintain that height, that length. He could help with the rebound, help with the glass. It's a guy that was, that would be excellent starting, bench role, whatever, right? Got him dirt cheap. It was a real opportunity for him to really kind of display his talents, kind of be that piece that pushed the Lakers over the top. Fortunately, we just didn't get to see that last season. He is one of the guys that I was most frustrated with because of the lack of utilization of Christian Wood. All season, I talked about how terrible Darvin Ham utilized Christian Wood. He played him as if he was a 3-and-D stretch wing, rather than a big man that can on occasion stretch out to the three-point line. I mean, the only time he ever got the ball in the interior was if he was like, as the cutter, or he put the ball on the deck himself and got to the basket. Right? Most of the time, he was just standing out on the perimeter, just floating there, waiting for a pass to a catch and shoot 3. And you're taking away all the advantages he has, right? He is designed as a guy that, yes, can pull out and draw out the big man, but he's also best when he gets the ball down where he can make a play. He can make a play out of the post. He can just score around the rim. He can be versatile. You can run some pick and roll actions, pick and pop action. You could just dump the ball down to him and let him go to work, especially when the offense is stagnant. There were so many times where offense just wasn't flowing. We were having our struggles. And it's like you have a guy in Christian Wood that you could just put on the block, feed him the basketball, tell him, just go get a bucket, dude. He's great at creating and drawing contact, right? This was a guy that was looked at as like a real factor and potential piece for the Lakers that basically got neutralized in a lot of ways. Now, he also got hurt, so that didn't help, and he just never really got the opportunity. But it's still very frustrating to watch what could have been with what many people thought was a huge pickup, because he's a very talented player that essentially became irrelevant, right? Like there was 0 point. You could have had that be anybody. Right, and it's just, but you saw the moments, you saw the gems, you saw the pieces. And you could even see Christian Wood's frustration. Like I said, he had to get to a point where he had to stop settling and just put the ball on the deck to get to the basket in order to just try to generate some level of offense. Right, and I mean, he did struggle to shoot the basketball. He wasn't like lights out like he has been in previous years, but it's also very different when, again, you on occasion are taking threes and then all you're doing is getting threes. Right? It's very different in that regard when you're primarily just a 3-point shooter, and it's like, that's not your game. Also, a good way to kind of get in rhythm, good way to kind of get your shot to start falling is to see the ball go through the rim. So if you're around the rim and you're around the basket and you're able to put it through, or you're able to knock down the little elbow, or like the free throw line or whatever, like all of a sudden, guess what? Everything else starts to open up. Everything else starts to flow. So he's a guy that it was just like, man, what could have been? Luckily, in my opinion, he ended up opting in and sticking around. I know some people might not be super excited about that. I am, because I think he is going to be one of the real beneficiaries of JJ Redick and his offense. Because I think he's a guy that, again, is incredibly versatile. He's a guy that has so many different ways that he can score the basketball that I think JJ Redick is really going to slot him in proper position. It's really going to slot him in ways to where he can actually have an impact. Now, there are questions of where he fits, where he slots. How does JJ actually play him? I think the defense is going to be a good thing for Christian Wood. I think if he can kind of show that he can defend multiple positions and defend out on the perimeter, like you saw briefly last year, as I mentioned earlier with the Kevin Durant thing. If he can be versatile in defending the pick and roll, which he's been good at, defending, obviously he's not a great rim protector, but if you're able to funnel the offensive player into him, then yes, he can clean it up and protect the rim. If he's on an island and he has to protect the rim, that's where he kind of has his struggles. So if he can show the defensive versatility, we know he can score the basketball. We know he can do a little bit of everything out there. Then I think that he'll actually get a significant role, right? But there's still questions, right? Like, do you play him primarily at the center spot? Because, like, you look at the power forward position, and it's like, okay, LeBron James is going to play primarily power forward. Then you have Rui Hachimura. Then you have guys like, even like Jared Vanderbilt that you could slot in at the 4 at times, right? Like, the 4 spot, also Anthony Davis, right? AD probably going to play the 4 a little bit more than he has, right? So it's just like, you look at the roster, it's just like, okay, Christian Wood at the 4 probably doesn't get a ton of minutes, although I think he's probably best utilized at the 4. But still, probably, if he gets any minutes, it'll probably be at the 5. I think Christian Wood can outplay and outperform Jackson Hayes. Now, obviously, they're very different players, but I just think Wood off the bench is just more versatile. I think Christian Wood is a guy that can really kind of, you can get different looks and have more versatility with. I'm not saying you don't play Jackson Hayes, but I think it just depends. I think certain matchups, certain, depending on what you need out there, right? If like you need some energy and maybe a little more hustle or some rim running, right? Then Hayes is probably better in that regard. But if you need some just kind of versatility, you need some more offense injection, I think you go with Christian Wood. Right, Christian Wood is a guy that doesn't necessarily, he needs setup and like you need somebody to get him the basketball, but he's not a guy like in Jackson Hayes, the only offense he's providing you is through offensive setup or offensive rebounds and putbacks, right? Christian Wood, you can give him the ball even at the top of the key and he showed that he can put the ball on the deck and go make plays, right? So to me, it's going to come down to his versatility. I do think JJ Redick will see the value in that. Now, I'm not saying that means he plays 25 to 30 minutes, but I think you got to be playing him 15 minutes a game, right? I genuinely do. I think he should be your primary backup at the center position. Again, maybe if you're going up against, like say you're going up against Memphis, right? And let's say Zach Edey is on the bench, all right? And they start Triple J at the 5 and then have Edey come off the bench, then yeah, you probably don't want Hayes having a matchup with him, with Edey. But like if you're going up against most backup centers, I think you could go with Christian Wood, and I think he'll be fine. Also, Jackson Hayes, it's not like he provides a ton of rim protection also, right? We all remember the games like the Houston Rockets game where it was basically just a layup line, right? It was basically just a layup drill. So again, to me, I just think it boils down to his versatility and his ability to display everything he can do out on the basketball court, right? But also being able to defend and be more versatile on the defensive side than Jackson Hayes. That was the thing when he signed. It was like, oh, so he's gonna be able to outplay most of these guys. So he'll earn his minutes, and that's kind of where I'm still at. I do think. Again, Darvin Ham played him. He just didn't play him correctly, in my opinion. And then it was like, well, why is, Christian Wood playing so terrible? And it's like, well, you're only as good as the coach that slots you where, if you put LeBron's probably a bad example because he play anywhere, but like AD, if you put AD at the point guard, right, he's probably not going to be as effective as he is at the center or power forward position, right? If you go and put Rui as your 2, he's probably not going to be as effective and versatile as he would be, right? And that was another guy that was very frustrating. But, you look at Christian Wood with the Lakers, played 50 games, averaged 17 minutes a game, right? He still gave you 7 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, half a steal, and a block. Shot 70% from the foul line, right? Again, if you look at his numbers were all down from like previous year and stuff. But again, he was also utilized terribly, right? Like, you look at his field goal attempts. He went from 11.5 down to 5.3, right? his 3-point attempts, 2.3 to 4.2. Literally, half of his attempts were all threes. All of them. Right? He averaged 3, again, this is averages, averaged 3 2-point attempts per game and 2.3 3-point attempts per game. Again, when most of your shots are threes, if 2.5 attempts per game or out of 5 are threes, it's just, again, it's not his game. He can do that, right? He's a guy that can score the basketball, excellent around the rim, right? Knock it down 15 in. Oh, and he could stretch the floor and knock down the 3. Where Darvin Ham utilized him as, he can knock down the 3, and on occasion he can. No, he's not a 3-and-D wing. He is a power forward center. That's where he is best utilized. And I just think Christian Wood is really going to benefit mightily from this coaching staff, from JJ Redick, from JJ Redick's just offense and the type of offense he wants to run. I also think JJ Redick will recognize certain mismatches and things, certain variables that go into Christian Wood, especially when he's on the court. I'm not saying he's going to play 30 minutes a game, but I do think he's a guy that actually gets some real opportunity. Of course, assuming the Lakers keep him. But we'll see how it all plays out. As always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like Christian Wood? Do you think, yes, he's going to be a guy that greatly benefits from having JJ Redick as the head coach? Do you think, no, I think all's the same, he's washed, whatever, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.